it's not about you. It's about something bigger than you. So serve that something bigger and just have fun with it. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Goode Soil. I'm so happy to see you. I'm glad you're here. If you are new, welcome. If you are an oldie but a goodie, welcome back. Today we have a good question. I am excited to talk about this question per usual because it is a creativity question, and I do love creativity questions. I feel like creativity is such a interesting topic and such an elusive thing sometimes that it can be really tricky to navigate. So I do like offering advice on creativity as I also go through my creative journey and figure out who I am as a creative and consistently learn from some of the lessons I've been through and experiences I've had and mistakes and failures I've kind of gone through. I'm excited to talk about creativity today. So let's dive into the question, shall we? Okay. Dear Goode Soil, how do I deal with self-doubt and perfectionism that inhibit my creative expression? Let me read that again. Dear Goode Soil, how do I deal with self-doubt and perfectionism that inhibit my creative expression? So this is a good question. We've talked a lot about self-doubt and perfectionism on this channel. They're such juicy topics to me. And I never get tired of talking about self-doubt and perfectionism because they crop up so many times in our lives, especially when it comes to creativity. Something that I've been really thinking through a lot lately, and that's helped a lot as far as and this is funny because you wouldn't think it would take the pressure off of creativity to think of it this way, but it really helps, in my opinion, drive me and kind of motivate me when I don't feel self-motivated. A lot of times when we think about creativity, we think about ourselves. We think about like the I of it all. I am a creative. I need to sit down and create. I need to paint. I need to write. I need to play the piano. I need to practice. I need to do all these things. And I think that takes away one from like the communal part of creativity, and it also takes away from like the giving part of creativity and the generosity of creativity and the point of creativity. And I think when we start making it about I, it creates a level of pressure and like responsibility that I think inhibits creativity, and it causes us self-doubt, and it causes thoughts of perfectionism, and it causes us to look at our creativity and our creative endeavors as reflections of us, as just another I in the world. And we put a lot of pressure on that. We put a lot of pressure on our self-image. That's one of the most important, if not the most important thing usually in our lives, is the way we present ourselves to the world, what we put out, what our self-image is, what people think of us. It's really important. There's a lot of pressure to that. So something that I've really been kind of reframing my mind to think about and reframing my creative practice to encompass is it's not about you. Meaning it's not about me. It's not about how I feel about my creativity. It's not about what my creativity can do for me. It's not about me. It's not about you. Our creativity is meant to put something into the world that others can benefit from, that our society, our cultures, our world, our whoever you're meant to touch, it's for them to experience. Just like when I consume something that someone else did, it's not just about them, it's about me and how I'm now, engaging in this creative work that may change my life or may help me think about something differently or may help me feel seen and heard. When we create, we really are doing a generous thing. It's a generous act. And when we allow ourselves and our psyche and our neuroses and our, selfishness sometimes and our love of our self-image to get in the way of that, it really does inhibit the way that we express. It inhibits the way that our creativity is meant to flow from us. And there's a reason why flow is so always connected with creativity, because in a sense, we are supposed to flow. And that flow state really is an egoless state. It's a place where we just allow all of the things to fall away. And it's just us and our creativity and our creative endeavor in its purest form. We're not even worried about what we look like or what we sound like or what the world's going to think of it, or, how this is going to change our lives or how it's going to make us money. It's genuinely the pure connection between ourselves and our creativity. And so when we have that self-doubt and perfectionism, we're making it about ourselves. We're not making it about the art anymore. It's about us. It's about our, how our art is reflecting upon us. And so it can be really hard to be a creative when self-doubt and perfectionism are constantly coming in and telling you you're not good enough. No one's going to like this. Just put it in a drawer, stop while you're ahead. This doesn't make sense. This is the worst thing that's ever been created. It is the enemy within us, whether you're spiritual or religious or not. Whether you believe in the devil or not, there is this sort of enemy within all of us, usually creative specifically, and I think all of us, that tells us, it's in its best interest to tell us that we're not good enough. It's in its best interest to stifle that creativity, to stifle that thing that could help others, to stifle that thing that could, inspire someone else to do something, grand and start expressing in their own right. Something is in us that really doesn't want us to be our best selves, that doesn't want us to, be egoless. And whether that's survival and, sort of our evolution as survivors to, kind of want to always maintain that image, want to always maintain safety, wants to always maintain security. It's a direct enemy to our creativity. It just is. And so when we make it about ourselves, that's when that self-doubt comes in. That's when that perfectionism comes in. I can't let this go until it's perfect. And we know that perfect doesn't exist. We all know this on an intellectual level, but we trick ourselves into thinking that there is some level of perfect that we can achieve. And again, there's nothing wrong with striving for excellence. There's nothing wrong for striving for your best. But when you find that you're hoarding something, or you're not allowing something to go, or you're tinkering with something and you're not sure why, sometimes it really is just that little perfectionism bug that's keeping you in a loop, saying this will never be good enough. This isn't good enough yet. This isn't good enough yet. And months have gone by when it was perfect the way you had it, and sometimes we kill our creativity, and we kill things that are really good by getting in these cycles of perfectionism and tinkering and hacking away at things that were really good months ago. And so I always remind myself, it's not about me. When I'm in that cycle, it's not about me. It's not about whether someone likes me after this. It's not about whether someone gets my work. It's not about or a particular group gets my work. It's not about whether I get $1 million off of this. That would be nice. And that could be a wonderful perk off of me being brave and courageous enough to let this thing go and express in my most authentic way. There's nothing wrong with wanting good things to come from your art, but there is this level of generosity and selflessness that comes with true creative expression. And I think we really see that when we see good art. We see, sometimes it's edgy, sometimes it pushes the envelope, sometimes it says the quiet things out loud, and we're like, wow, like I was thinking that, but I wouldn't dare say that. But that person was bold enough to say those things, and they didn't care what their family was going to say, and they didn't care what, how they might be labeled or how they might be boxed in. They served their art. And I think when we serve our creativity and we serve our art and we serve that connection we have to it over our image, over what we can gain from it, over what it does in our lives only, that's when we can really create. That's what helps you overcome that self-doubt and that perfectionism, is to take yourself out of the equation. You are the vessel. You are the conduit for which this thing can come through. And the more we inhibit that, the more we stop that, the more of a disservice we do to our communities and the people we want to touch with our work. So always remembering, you don't always have to cater to your audience. You don't always have to cater to the market or cater to what's outside of you. But just remembering that whatever has come to you for a reason. We don't know where ideas come from. We don't know where these things come from. But when you take it and you're inspired by it and you get that spark to express it, remembering that this needs to get out for some reason. Someone needs to hear this. Something needs to happen with this thing that needs to get out of me. Let me get out of the way. It's not about me. Something bigger is happening here. And when you remember that, you humble yourself and you ground yourself. And it takes time, like anything. It takes time practicing that mentality, practicing that sort of generous, selfless way of creating, understanding that you're always going to have self-doubt. That's always going to be something that's going to try to penetrate that mindset, self-doubt and perfectionism, especially if, you struggle with self-esteem issues and you struggle with, inferiority complexes, and you have your other sort of challenges that you're navigating when it comes to you feeling good enough to take up space. I think when you do put things out and you do serve the art, you do create confidence and you do build up that level of, okay, I can do this. I can express this thing. I can let something go. I can understand that perfect doesn't mean impactful. Perfect doesn't mean, it resonates with people. Sometimes our rawest things really resonate with people, and we may not know that. You may not get the feedback to know that. I wrote poetry for a very long time, like a few years ago, and I wasn't like necessarily hearing feedback like on social media. I was like, well, I guess no one liked it. People aren't liking it. People aren't commenting. Like, I made it about me, instead of it being pure of like, no, you express something, you put it out there, and it's going to hit the people it's going to hit, and let it be, let it just be. And then I would go places and people would be like, hey, I read your poem. And I'd be like, oh, you did? Like, I had no idea. No one said anything. You didn't say anything. I wish you'd like the post and commented. But, which is fair to want people to tell you that, it's fair to want that as well as an artist and a creative. You want to get feedback. I'm not saying that. And I think it's important to note that. But sometimes you just don't know what your art and your expression, where it's going in the world and who it's touching and who it's silently impacting. And sometimes we're not going to know that. And that's why we have to serve the art. Just serve that this thing that wants to get out of you has a heat-seeking missile on it, and it's not up to us to control where it goes. It's not up to us to control what it does for us and how it feeds our ego, and how it feeds our, neuroses and things. It's about just being creative and just saying, I've done this thing. It is good. Now let me move on to the next thing that's coming on. And yeah, so I think the best way, and was your question, how do you overcome it? Let me just double check. Yeah, how do you deal with self-doubt and perfectionism? I think you deal with it by forging ahead, by, doing the opposite of it, which is to put things out that are messy, to put things out that aren't perfect, and to just get some feedback on them. Just get used to being uncomfortable, get comfy being uncomfortable, get comfortable. Like I said, just putting things out, putting unfinished things out, just understanding you won't die from it, that it won't be the end of the world, that you will survive and live another day to work on something else. Understanding that you can put things out and then later go back, and look at those things and be like, oh, I want to tweak it. Like, you are the creator of your art, so you can do whatever you want with it whenever the time is right. Whenever you want to, you can go back and you can look at things and revisit things and tweak things. That's the fun part of being creative, and self-doubt and perfectionism really zaps the fun out of the creativity. It makes it this hard, awful slog that your worth is tied up into, and then everything, it makes it heavy and really sad and frustrating and stressful and depressing and suicidal, thought inducing, and all sorts of things. Like, it just makes it heavier than it needs to be, and being creative and creating something's hard enough without the extra negative thoughts and negative patterns getting into it. So allow creativity to be a playground, allow it to be like a sandbox where you're building castles and knocking them down, and some look lopsided and some look really beautiful, and you never know which one's going to be which. And just allowing creativity to be fun again and forging ahead, even though you have those thoughts, and really remembering like it's not about you, it's about something bigger than you. So serve that something bigger and just have fun with it. You were born to create, so trust that you were born to create. Trust that you weren't born to be perfect. You weren't born to be a perfect creator. You were just born to create, and you were born to sense what is inside of you and what needs expressing. So start listening to what needs expressing. Understand if it came to you, it was meant to come through you. And so you have the tools, you have the experience, you have something about you that is meant to tell the story, or meant to, I'm always relating things to writing, but meant to paint that picture, or meant to snap that photo, or meant to play that piece, or build that chair, or whatever you're doing. It's something in you, and it is bold and loving to do that for not only yourself, but for your community and for your for the world, whoever it's meant to touch. It's really compassionate and really wonderful to allow yourself to express. It's one of the most beautiful things we can do is express what's inside of us, and we don't know where these things come from. And we're unique, and it comes out in unique ways. And we all know this, but the more we get in our heads and the more self-doubt and perfectionism, it truly does stifle what makes us unique, and it stifles our voices and our authenticity. And it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We don't think it's going to be good, and then it becomes not good by us having the self-doubt and the perfectionism. And then we're like, well, see, I told myself so. And it's like, no, you inadvertently made that happen because of the pressure you put on yourself, because of the perfectionism you held yourself to, because of the way you approach this. When in reality, if you did just sort of let things go and let it flow as best you can, and try to serve what's coming through you, the thing may look broken and weird to you, but to someone else, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And it's like, thank God you expressed it that way, because this beautiful door might not have opened, or this opportunity might not have happened, or you might not have been able to get it out in the way in this way. So, dealing with it one day at a time, like I always say, one foot in front of the other, baby steps. Really, like I say, coaching yourself through it, saying your mantras like it's not about me, or this is supposed to be fun, or how can I make this playful? How can I infuse joy and ease and peace into my creative practice? How can I serve my creativity, not myself in this moment? How can I move myself out of the road in this moment? How can I lead with love in this moment? And yeah, just practicing that. And as you keep practicing that, as you keep putting stuff out that you're not sure about, as you keep just putting it out and throwing stuff against the wall, you'll see what works, what doesn't work, where you need areas of growth, where you need to, where you're really good at, what your strengths are. It's all an experiment. That's the beautiful part of creativity. So allow creativity to be beautiful, allow your expression to flow. You're not alone in having self-doubt and having these tendencies to be perfect. Everyone goes through that. I definitely have and still struggle with it, but it's easier now with that. It's not about you, Brittany. It's not about you. It's not about you. Remembering that and taking yourself, it's like, it's not about me. Yeah. The more, tonight, for example, I was like, oh, I don't feel like shooting a video. I'm tired. I worked today. Like, I really just kind of want to veg out. And it's like, when I think of it as it's not about you, it's like, oh, okay, you're right. Like, it's not about how I feel in this moment. It's not about how tired I am this moment. I know I will get rest after I film this video. I know I can do whatever I want after I film it. But to miss this is making it about me. And it's making it, I'm prioritizing myself. And sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes we do need to prioritize ourselves and get rest and take time off. And that's fine too. But sometimes we do that too much. And that's what causes inconsistency. And one thing I really want to be with this show is consistent. That's something that I've always struggled with. And this is a space where I practice being consistent. I practice regulating my emotions, and I practice prioritizing you guys and prioritizing the mission behind this podcast, which is things don't have to be perfect. Things don't have to be, glamorous and amazing. I know there's a lot of content out there, and of course I want to do my best, and I'm striving for my best, but I love that I can kind of just flow, and I try very hard not to edit anything out, and I want to just speak from the heart and the head and allow myself just to be Brittany. And there aren't a lot of spaces in life where I feel like I can just be Brittany, and I'm getting better and better about creating those spaces. And yeah, and so I encourage you all to do the same, to play again, to have fun, to be messy, to, fall and get back up again a million times as it takes, and to dust yourself off and to keep trying, and to keep seeking that joy and that peace and that ease and that excitement and that inspiration and that thing that's just sometimes hard to articulate. It's intangible, but it's quintessentially you. So yeah, I hope I answered that question in the best way possible. And if you have questions, if you are thinking about something or contemplating something, or you have a life decision to make or whatever you're going through, if you have questions, I want to hear them, submit them. The link is in the description box. Click on it. It'll take you to a type form, and you'll just fill out your question, send it, and it could show up on an episode of Goode Soil. So I love to hear from you guys, in the questions or in the comments. Let me know how you deal with self-doubt and perfectionism when it comes to your creative expression. And until next time, thank you for watching. As always, you are Goode Soil. I love you. All right, take care. Have a good week. Bye. Thank you for watching another episode of Goode Soil. If you liked this video, be sure to share it with friends and family, because we could all use a little reminding that we are Goode Soil. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.